Hello everyone, this is Mars. I'm back after a lengthy semi-vacation, you'd say. My health has been pretty bad. I had kidney disease, and I lost my transplant. I had a transplant about 14 years ago, and my body finally rejected it, and I got real sick December and January, and I started dialysis last week. I got the surgery for a catheter and started dialysis, so I'm finally starting to feel better. January was just a horrible month for me. I lost 35 pounds. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. It was just a nightmare. So dialysis has helped. But now I have to go to dialysis 3 times a week. So there's been a lifestyle change, but I will adapt. I want to thank everyone for sticking with me, those of you that had. Today I want to show off, I just bought a huge collection of bound volumes. If you've seen my videos, you know that I've been doing a lot of binding of Bronze Age comics, and especially magazines, horror and monster magazines from the 60s and 70s. A fellow that helped me with the binds is moving to Japan and has to liquidate his collection. So he turned to me, and I made him an offer, and this is pretty much going to suck up my comics budget for most of the year, but I'm very happy with what I have. This is part 1. I won't be able to get the whole collection in on one video. Part of that is because I don't have all the books yet. I've got about the first, a little less than half the books here. I've got another, he just sent me the second half, and I got 2 packages, one 60 pounds and one 20 pounds. So as my poor mailman has to lug these up the steps, I'm afraid he's going to be due for a Christmas present this year. So let's get started. I have one of my series I was just about to start on collecting and getting bound was The Power of Shazam. But here he has the whole set already bound for me. So there is volume 1 of The Power of Shazam, and here is volume 2. And you see the nice work he did with these books. The graphics, you put the spines together, the spines match. They look very professional. And the binding is really nice. There's almost no gutter loss. I'll show you here. I'll open a book up here. This is Power of Shazam, volume 2. And you can see how the book lays. No real gutter loss here. And he secluded all the tie-ins and crossovers that connect to Captain Marvel in the 90s and the early 2000s. So really a nice set. That was the one I was most excited about getting. Let's start with Superman. I've got 3 volumes of Superman. This starts up right after the death of Superman. This is about 3 or 4 years of Superman comics in 3 bound volumes. And like I said, this takes up from right after the death and return of Superman to, like I said, 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to continue the Superman, the post-crisis Superman. Well, I love Superman. Post-crisis and Bronze Age and Silver Age. So I'm going to hopefully continue this series. Next I have a lot of Batman. I have 2 volumes of Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan's Batman and Detective. Anybody who has read this stuff or is a fan of Batman from the 90s knows how marvelous Chuck Dixon is. He is a very, very underrated writer, and I think he's written some of my very favorite Batman stories. And Graham Nolan, together they created Bane. These 2 take place right after Nightfall, and just some great stories. I've already finished the first volume. I've had the book less than a week, and I'm in volume 2 right now. So that's what I'm reading right now. And let's see. Here we have another Chuck Dixon and Marv Wolfman, a detective. Now this starts The first issue on this is like, I think it's Detective 500, maybe. It's the Sam Hamm story that came out right about the time of the Tim Burton Batman movie. If you were alive back then in buying comics, you know that was a really big deal. Sam Hamm being the screenwriter of the Burton Batman film. So this starts with a Sam Hamm story and goes through Marv Wolfman. I think we get year 2 in here, and then ends with Chuck Dixon. Okay, let's see what else I got here. Another great run on Batman is Alan Grant and Norm Breyfogle. These are terrific stories. And here we have 2 volumes of their work. They started on Detective, and I think they went to Batman. But they also had a series. His work was so good, Grant and Breyfogle, their work was so good, they gave him their own title. And this is Shadow of the Bat. And it's Grant and Breyfogle, this volume is huge. Look at that. This is the entire Shadow of the Bat. And Grant and Breyfogle said their detective run and Batman run became so popular they gave him Shadow of the Bat to run. So this is the entire Shadow of the Bat. And it has crossovers, the Anarchy miniseries, anything Grant and Breyfogle did that's not included in the other book. And just a great, great set. Okay. More Batman. Marv Wolfman and Jim Aparo. This is Batman Year 2. Is in here. Peter Milligan and Jim Aparo. Jim Aparo being my favorite Batman artist, just ahead of Neil Adams. I grew up with Jim Aparo's Batman in the 70s and 80s. So he's always been my favorite Batman artist. And finally, with this batch, the last volume in this group is another one of my favorite Batman runs. The entire Doug Moench and Kelly Jones Batman. This run, you know, Kelly Jones' artwork is really the draw here. And this is kind of Batman as the horror story back before Snyder, and you know, Snyder kind of did the same thing with the New 52 Batman. But all the figures, you know, these grotesque figures, and we get to see Deadman and the Spectre, and you know, all the horror characters show up in this run. And it's different. It was controversial at the time, but I really like Kelly Jones' Batman with the long ears. It's a nice change of pace. So, that is that. Now, I have another shipment coming this week, probably Friday or Saturday. It'll show up, and this will include 25 more volumes. And in these volumes will be, I think, the entire Robin run by Chuck Dixon, Wonder Woman with George Perez and Bill Messner-Loebs that followed that up. And what else? Some more I don't remember right now. Oh, JLA by Robinson, which he just kind of threw that in. I wasn't real excited about that, but I bought it. And a couple other titles. You know, it's 25 volumes in total. So I will try to post a video this weekend, or maybe next week, with the rest of those books. He's going to my library, and this has become really the main focus of my hobby. It really has been for a while, is getting my favorite comics bound and getting rid of boxes and putting them on the shelf. So anyway, I thank you guys for sticking around, and I'll have more to follow. So keep buying those funny books, and I'll see you next time.